Hey everyone, today's episode is brought to you by Vivo Life. Now we all know how important protein is to maintain an optimal diet. And me, I'm a busy dad of two little kids, and as much as I want to get all of my nutrients from Whole Foods, sometimes I just can't manage to make that happen. And I absolutely need the best quality foods so I can recover from my workouts and sustain my energy so I can show up and be the dad that I want to be. And that's why over the years, I was on a quest to find the healthiest and cleanest protein powder that I can use after my workouts. So what I do is I mix a scoop of Vivo Life Perform in with my post-workout recovery meal, which is oatmeal, blueberries, flaxseed, and it tastes amazing. I love it. So not only does Vivo meet the criteria I need, it also is environmentally friendly as well. It's 100% plant-based protein and the flavor is extremely smooth compared to other protein powders I've tried out there. Part of the reason is they use fermented protein, which is the healthiest protein that you can have for your digestive system, especially mine. On top of that, it has amazing ingredients like turmeric, ginger, and reishi mushrooms. What's so freaking awesome is that Vivo Life stands behind their product, and if you don't feel the difference in 30 days, they give you a full refund, no questions asked. So I get it. We're all unique. We're all different. We have different preferences. You be the judge yourself. Go to vivolife.com and at the checkout, use the coupon code PERFECT10 for 10% off your first order. And by the way, my favorite flavor is the banana and cinnamon. It's about growing as a person. Your best is completely unique to you.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on episode 33. I think it's 33. Fuck Perfect. I'm here with Raj. Is it Tiwari?
Yes, this is Tiwari.
And maybe give us a little intro about you. Cherry picked version. You can start whenever you want. How did you get here?
Oh, awesome. So glad to be here. I think this is my first pod to be on a podcast show. So
Excellent.
quite excited, a little bit nervous, what all to say, what not to say, but I'll just go with it. So just about myself, I just immigrated to Canada like 3 years back, been through my depression years. Right now I'm a coaching consultant. I work with a coach. And I had my own challenges in my life, especially with my health. And 2020 is a year year for me that I committed to resolve those challenges regarding my health. I was like diabetic, and now I'm still a diabetic, but without medication, I'm maintaining my sugar levels.
Wow, that's
awesome.
Incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
And when you so you said that the 2020 is going to be a great year for you and your health. A lot of people will say that 2020 is the worst year that they've ever experienced. But I love that your perception is that, for your health, 2020 is going to be a great year. Right. And I think you're probably as you get into coaching and you follow certain people who inspire you, motivate you, you can learn a lot from what you choose to focus on. Right.
That's right.
There's in a really sort of pessimistic, it's almost sad to think that there's a ton of bad stuff always happening. But on the flip side, there is a ton of good stuff, right? And it doesn't mean that you're ignorant, like you're not able to see the bad stuff. It's just you're choosing to focus on the good stuff because you know what that will do to you and your mindset and your psychology. So I think you're probably the first person that I've heard from in the last 7 months that says 2020 is going to be a great year for me and my health. So, but I applaud you for that perspective. And you said, so you were a diabetic. I mean, you still are a diabetic, but now you're managing it without medication. What were you? I'm assuming you're type 2. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
When did you get that diagnosis?
Oh, that was year 2007 when I was leaving London.
Oh, okay. And so you've had that diagnosis for about 13 years.
Yeah, roughly now 13 years.
And then you've been basically on medication for 13 years, roughly, or 12 years.
Oh yeah, almost 12 years was on medication, and that was like a long suffering. And the medicines kept on increasing for me. I mean, there was no way that I was coming down on medications. It just kept on increasing.
It kept increasing.
Yeah, my
Interesting.
health was no better. My energy levels were so down. To find a way, I mean, I decided in 2019 itself that I wanted to make a change. And 2000, I mean, I didn't even know about this COVID and all those things, what's going to happen, because they were not there by that time.
Right.
I decided that by 2020, I have to make a life-changing year for myself.
Hmm.
And that's where I started my journey.
Wow, that's amazing that you that you made such a huge decision. And granted, now that I think life happens for us, that you're there, and now that you're sort of you have to be there longer too, because of the lockdown and everything. I You said that when you're medicating, it constantly increased, and your energy was not getting better, your health was not getting better. Um, a lot of times, what occurs, and you probably know this, and you've experienced it, and I've experienced it. There are two ways that people will make a change, either out of inspiration or desperation, right? A lot of us will make the change out of desperation. Uh, it's not too often the inspiration makes us make a big change. Usually we'll see something inspiring and we'll feel good for a moment. But when you feel like, man, you get so desperate, you're willing to do anything now, it almost opens up your mind to be like, I'm going to go try something over here. And you did. You did something that most people would never even think about doing, right? You completely uprooted where you lived. You went to another country to seek alternative help. And where has that led you?
That has led me to a beautiful place. It
Mm-hmm.
has led me to finding my own self, if
Mm-hmm.
I have to put it in simple terms. I mean, finding the joy within. So, to be specific, I just came to India, went for a retreat where I had that faith that even if like few persons can get diabetic free, I can also be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I gone through the whole process. The process works. I've been in a retreat. After the retreat, in roughly 23 days, I was out off medication.
That's
But
awesome.
there are many obstacles on the way which
Mm-hmm.
you have to deal with. There are many challenges, and those challenges are in your mind. You have
Mm-hmm.
to those kind of addictions, temptations, which you have to get over and deal with. And the way you said it, whether the change gets either through inspiration or through desperation, most of the
Mm-hmm.
times it works through desperation. And in my case as well, it was right through desperation. Like I don't want to be diabetic all my life, and I want to be there for my kid and my family. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's a
and be
huge
whole energetic.
huge motivation. And that's really great to hear when you have that motivation of someone else, when it becomes more about you, right? And it's so weird, but also it's so beautiful how when the focus gets taken off of yourself and it's about giving, now you seem to be fighting harder because now you want to give, right? It's like, what can I give? What can I share with my own kids, my family? Um, and a funny story. Before I had kids, people would tell me, "Oh, the reason that you're healthy is because you have all the time. You have no kids." And then after I had kids, people would then tell me, "The reason you're healthy is because you have them to motivate you." I was like, "What?
Yeah.
it's you're like people would focus on something whether I had them or not, which I thought was funny. And so with the last 23 days of you doing this retreat, and you're now, without getting into specifics, but you're now managing your diabetes without medication. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's amazing. That's really, really. And how do you feel? Like, aside from the empowerment part, like, how does your body feel?
A whole lot energy levels are up,
Mm-hmm.
so it feels lighter. It feels that I'm doing something for myself. I love nature,
Mm-hmm.
basically. I love gardening, watering plants, my roses, you know. So, and here there is where I'm living currently, temporary basis with my parents. There's a huge garden out there. So I enjoy it over here with nature. And
Mm-hmm.
especially with COVID, and there's, you know, the how's the circumstances are right now all over the world. And somewhere I had a thought that it's not through what we think. Sometimes the nature takes its own route. And coming from a place like India, I'm somewhat into spirituality. It comes from, I think it comes naturally to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I love those all parts and kind of getting to know myself better. I mean, after all, it's a journey of knowing your own mind and knowing yourself better.
Yeah, I fully agree, and I think you hear stories all the time about um people having a health issue and they'll leave the country they're in. I've heard people go to India. I've heard people go to China. I've heard people go to Vietnam. I've heard people go to um, islands off the coast of Greece, um, to, to live in a different environment. And in that different cultures, a different environment, there's things, the focuses are different. One of the things that I have studied is something called blue zones, and these blue zones are referred to as the healthy spots around the world where people are living to 100 years old consistently.
Is it something
Okinawa,
near Japan?
yeah, the part of the blue zone is in Okinawa, Japan. Um, and then there's so different blue zones around the world, and you look at people's lifestyles and what they're focusing on and what they're eating and what they're doing. Um, Typically, these people are eating more of a vegetarian diet, right? And they are less stressed by things. They're more connected to nature. And the thing that I love thinking about in the last few months of being on lockdown, and I don't think I would have had the opportunity to think of it without the lockdown, is that these days people are connected on a device,
Right.
and sometimes they think they're connected to people, but if there's a device, a barrier in between them, even like we are right now, we're not really connecting on a level that we could be.
Right.
um Connecting to nature,
Yeah.
connecting to oneself, connecting to a human spirit, can't be connected through a device. And I thought all these connections that we're talking about making digitally can be great, but
Yeah.
by themselves alone aren't good enough for us as humans to thrive. And I think going back to the gardening and the roses and connecting to nature and the disconnect from technology, when people go on vacations, they say, I'm going to unplug, I'm going to disconnect from technology, and they treat that as a
Detox.
vacation, right?
Right. They go
And
for a
then
digital
what?
detox. They go
Detox,
for a digital detox.
digital detox. Absolutely. I love that term. And it's an alliteration.
Right.
And you have this digital detox. On top of that, people tend to be more present with themselves in the now. Like they're not thinking about the past and the future, in the now. And sort of like these activities like going to the beach or going in nature really do help you be present, right? and I think that there's a really awesome component to people's health in that. And I'm wondering, like, so in your life, aside, and maybe you want to talk about the diabetic thing or not something different in your life, did you try to focus on perfection of being perfect, and it just didn't get you anywhere until you said, I'm not going to try to be perfect anymore. I'm just going to try and focus on progress and making myself better.
Of course, that's a given thing. When you try to, I mean, not when I try to be perfect, that I want to be in front of so many people who are expecting me, my family, and the neighbors, and God knows who, that I want to be so and so in front of their eyes. And I want to be that perfect man, which they are expecting me to be.
Mm,
It's those unmet expectations which keeps like a burden on yourself. And right now I'm rebuilding myself, and I'm happy with my progress, whether it's in terms of my health, in terms of my relationship,
mm-hmm,
in terms of the money, finance. So whatever it is, I am progressing there, and I'm happy with that progress. I'm grateful right now.
mm,
And even in these times when so many people are struggling, I find myself having food, water, shelter, the basic I need, and God is great. Things are moving. So yeah, if I look at my own perfection, I was a lot depressed because I was expecting from myself a lot, and that was not happening. So kind of I knew I went into personal development. I stuffed my mind in personal development, Jim Rohn. I started with Jim Rohn,
mm-hmm.
Earl Nightingale, then Tony Robbins, and then some spiritual gurus as well from India, and listening to them some wise advice. And that helped me pull out of that depression state.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very helpful. And that kind of gave me some aim to look forward to in life. And when I'm right now looking forward to where I'm going, and I can see myself progressing every month, every year, it feels good. Damn good.
That's amazing. And I think it's really important for listeners to remind themselves of truly focusing on gratitude, because when you become grateful for what you have, then you will start to appreciate more out of life. When there's always this, like, you're in this state of like, oh, I'm not good enough, I don't have what I want, you're constantly feeling uneasy. Like, the word disease is separated to dis and then ease. So when you are just uh uneasy, when you're uh not at ease, and you're creating this disease in yourself of this expectation, I have to live up to other people's standards and then my own, and then people forget about what they've achieved in their life. A
Right.
lot of times people, if you write down, like, what are some high points in your life that you've achieved, and you start writing down, you're like, wow, I have done some pretty awesome things.
Right.
And I mean, just the fact of having a kid is a huge achievement, right? And there was like some study where they said the chance of you actually being alive is 1 in 4 billion.
Of course. That's
And
so
so
grateful for
that's
that.
insane, like a 1 in 4 billion chance that you are alive.
Right.
And just being grateful for, and every time when I do gratitude, I think I'm grateful for my breath in this moment. I'm grateful for all these things, like right in this moment that you're alive, and having these things. And then you start to have this perspective of appreciation for everything,
Of course.
right?
Truly.
And it's really, really amazing. And there's this book, I'm not sure if you read it, I was just talking about it the other day, Happiness Advantage. It's
Oh, that's
by Sean Achor. It's very, very, very small.
awesome.
And all it does is talk about all these stories where if people choose to be happy first instead of making happiness a reward,
Right.
their life totally changes. And one of the examples, and it reminded me when you said retreat earlier, there's this group of men in their 70s, and they
Yeah.
go on this retreat, and they're told, while you're on a retreat for this, I think it's like 30 days or maybe longer, maybe 90 days,
Right.
while you're on the retreat, we want you to imagine and pretend that you are 55. And
Well,
what they did was they put magazines and newspapers and TV programming on in this retreat that was on when they were 55. And they said, whatever you do, just try to completely believe that you're 55, move and be physical like you're 55. And these doctors, before the study, did a bunch of tests, whether, I don't know what the tests are going to be, but they did these tests, and I think they did on their age. And they what they did is, after the retreat was done, all these men, all of them,
yeah.
the doctors tested them, and it was as if they were 55 years old again. Like
That's
their
amazing.
body composition changed.
Yeah. I think I read something like this in the Biology of Belief. Have you heard about that
Right.
book?
No,
Yeah.
but I believe it.
And today I was reading the book called Courage.
Okay.
So Courage, and it's by Osho. So one of the controversial gurus of the West and the East mixture, but amazing. The Joy of Living Dangerously. It's all
Ooh.
about, yeah, it's all about love.
I'm gonna have to write that down and get that. Hold on a second. Courage. Who's the author?
By Osho.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. I couldn't like, I've still like half, I've already done it, and I couldn't sleep without completing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that happen too, where like I'll be reading something like personal development wise, whether it's Tony Robbins or something, and I get so excited to implement what they're saying, and I get so excited to start the next day that I
Right.
can't wait to wake up. And then the irony is I can't go to sleep now because I'm so excited to wake up.
Truly understand.
And
It's
then
amazing.
yeah, it's amazing. And even Tony Robbins talks about, like, well, I've been to an event where these events are 12 hours like minimum, right?
Right.
I had no idea they were this long when I went in the first time, Raj. I thought maybe it was like 8 hours. It's 12 hours. You get hardly any, you get almost no food. You just get water, and it's like a detox, and you're constantly on your feet. You're dancing. It's like a party. I was so out of my comfort zone because I'm not a dancer, and I felt everyone. I used to feel like everyone was judging me on what I would do, but then everyone's acting stupid and silly, so it feels like it's okay. This thing is 12 hours long, and he talks about where energy comes from, and you think, oh, energy comes from sleep and from food, and he's like, you're wrong. It's like it's basically from your thoughts and what you're focusing on and your beliefs and your language you use. And he gave these examples of, like, when you're excited about something, even though your body's tired, you could be excited and still have lots of energy.
Right.
And then he pushed us to like 12 to 14 hours a day, getting almost 5 hours of sleep, and he kept pushing and pushing. And then it was true. Like, we had an abundance of energy, and it was just wild to think about life like that. And one of the things he even talks about is how smelling a rose is the equivalent of so much energy, and then that actually is giving your body energy.
Right.
So that's interesting to me.
That was very interesting how you said it, because that reminded me of my stupid shit which I did once. Not once, twice. And I don't know if I have to say it, but let's go ahead with that. So two things which I did, which I remember in last. So one was dynamic meditation by Osho. And that was in that retreat only. And there it's like 4 steps basically. You do something and something, and then everybody is dancing like crazy, do movements, whatever. There's a forest music playing, and it's all for 3 minutes stages. So in those 3 minutes, I'm being like a drummer, and I've never done something like that. I'm crazy and this, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm drumming and this and that,
Uh-huh.
and it feels so empowering. I don't feel judged at all, and I'm loving it. And I'm thinking, wow, I can do this, and it's amazing. And I'm just in the flow, right flow. So that was one phase where I experienced that emotion. And the energy was so amazing out of that. And the second thing, I tried marijuana. That was the first in my life. Yeah. I mean, in Canada, it's legal. So it's
Yeah.
nothing like I tried something illegal. And I went to work with that. I
Hmm.
ingested, I mean, that was edible, and I went to work. And later I found, I mean, nothing worked for a while.
Hmm.
Nothing happened to me. And that was a funny day at where I worked. It was a funny event. Good wives, friends, colleagues, everyone enjoying themselves that day. And I had my own stuff to eat. And after that, something just started rocking inside me. And I couldn't stop smiling, and I couldn't stop laughing and
Uh-huh.
enjoying. And people were telling me, today you're being extra friendly. And I'm like, I don't know. And I went to the bathroom inside, and I'm trying to poke my cheeks that I shouldn't be smiling that much.
Yeah.
But that was like a natural state, you know. So that made me realize that things like drugs,
Uh-huh.
maybe liquor, and all those things give you some kind of high, some kind of a pleasure,
Uh-huh.
which you want to experience again and again. And in that way, it's like it's like you have touched that consciousness, that higher level of consciousness
Yeah.
for some part of that journey, and you want to experience it again. And I want to experience it without any drugs, basically.
Yeah. That's exactly, you were like reading my mind. It's like, I think having the assistance to get somewhere shows you at first it's possible to get there.
Right.
And then you can think, well, how can I get there without needing it? And obviously you're not talking an extreme version of getting to that spot, because sometimes drugs will make you like, so there are some drugs out there that just are really powerful. But even like natural things, like people have gone on retreats to do these sort of medicinal mushrooms, right? Under supervision, right? And they've had these experiences that allow them to then to kind of connect to a different part of themselves. And I think meditation for me is a meditation and gratitude are really great experiences. When you feel like, when I exercise, you know, I feel great when I'm done. I don't really always want to do it,
Yeah.
but when I'm done, I feel great. And when I meditate, I feel like my mind is great. And when I do gratitude, I just feel so, all three just help me really connect to,
Yeah.
say, my spirit, and I feel connected to the the world. And I just feel connected to every living thing, whether it's a tree or a plant or an animal or a person. I feel that connection, right?
Right.
And I think that's really cool. So what do you got going on next? You said that you have started kind of coaching. You're working with a coach, but you're also kind of doing consulting or coaching now.
Yeah. Right now, I'm doing consulting. So it's
Hmm.
a, you can say, coaching consultant right now. So I'm working with a coach, and I mean, it's all about impacting people in their own journey,
Hmm.
making sure that they take the right decisions for their life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of helping me.
I remember when I wasn't doing personal development at all. And the first time I really did, I was so shocked that I could think. I didn't realize it was my choice to think this way. Like it was my choice to be negative. And when I realized, oh, I don't have to think that way anymore, it was incredible. So obviously having a coach, having someone like you is really going to help people also see that. It's not like you're holding all the answers. It's just you're
Right.
kind of guiding people to their own answer,
Yeah.
right? And that's
So
why
what
I
I've
like, go ahead.
so what I've also thought about it is through my own journey, what
Mm-hmm.
transformation I've got. Eventually, this transformation, I want to put it in a nice way if I can help more people, especially people who has diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
especially type 2 diabetes like me. If they can also get rid of medications, imagine what life would be for them
Yeah. It'd
rather
be,
than just living on medications lifelong.
yeah. And what's really interesting? You were saying at the beginning that you got off medications and how you felt. And then you also talked about how you used edible marijuana and you also wanted to now get to that state without the drug. That seems to be a parallel
Yeah,
of you wanting to get to a better state without drugs, like whether they're herbal or Western medicine. And I think
right.
that's awesome how you want to take control of your own body and direction of your life without the assistance of without being dependent on something,
Yes,
right?
that's true. I don't want to be dependent on anything because it's
Mm,
my life, it's my energy, it's my choice. So
that
yes,
makes
I
sense.
want I want to let it flow inside me, basically.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Raj, for being on the podcast. I'll let you know when I publish it.
Yeah,
And then if you have any links to your coaching consulting business, I can put that in the podcast as well.
awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I was glad to be here.
It was a absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Yep.